Hey folks, it's Echo. I've missed you all. I am on vacation. I'm going to share a little bit of it with you here. But I'm going to start off, I'm in Ireland, folks. It's been amazing. And we're going to start off with a little bit of, you know me. Come on, folks. We're going to have some Blackbush here. This is their Sherry Cask Reserve. Our kind driver here picked this up for me. So cheers, folks. Start things off. I haven't even got to taste this yet, so this is going to be a nice little pour. I'm going to give it just, you know what, I'm going to do a sip, and then we're going to get into the itinerary. Oh, that's nice. All right, so here's the deal. I've been in Ireland for just a little over a week now, and we've had an incredible time. We started off in Dublin. We got to go see Trinity College and Riverdance, and we went on the Guinness tour, and then out to Newgrange. So we've got to see a lot of the ancient sites there as well. If you don't know what Newgrange is, it's this amazing, prehistoric site that had this neat little passage that comes down where during the winter solstice light comes through and shines and illuminates this room. So a lot of astrological, feats that they managed to accomplish in prehistoric times. Really, really amazing, incredible place to see. And then from Dublin, we took a train down to Cork, and we went and saw the distillery at Midleton, which was incredible, folks. If you don't know what the Midleton distillery is, they do Powers, they do Jameson, and they do Midleton. And it was one of the most informative, amazing. I'll save it. I'm going to show you bits and pieces of that in a second. And then we got to go check out Blarney Castle, which was gorgeous. We did not kiss the stone. I'm just giving you a heads up, no stone kissage. And then from there, we took a van out to Cong, which is where we are here at our lovely bed and breakfast, or not bed and breakfast, Airbnb thingy. I don't know. We had to rent enough space for my family plus extended family. So we've got a lot of folks in tow here. But while we've been here, we got to visit Ashford Castle, and there we got to do falconing, and we got to do horseback riding, and we took a van out from here, out to Galway, and visited the Cliffs of Moher, which was absolutely incredible. If you don't know where that or what that is, go watch Princess Bride. It's important for life.
Hello there.
So we've got about 5 or 6 days left. We're going to be heading out to County Mayo tomorrow. But I'm putting this up in the front of the video to give you kind of a heads up of the things I'm going to walk through. I ended up not recording and vlogging the whole thing, the trip here, like I wanted to, because I felt like, I don't know, walking around as an American in Ireland, I felt kind of like a self-pompous jackass trying to vlog the experience, and I was just too self-conscious. I tried it for half a second. I'm like, yeah, I'm just not feeling this. So yeah, we're going to end our trip out in County Mayo and Belmullet, visiting some family, very chill and low-key. So I'm excited for this last little chill bit, and then I'll be back home to hang out with y'all. But enjoy my visit here. Here's what I did while I was here. Well, actually, let's just back things up a bit. Let's talk about how we got there. So I traveled with my family and some of my extended family. And I think if you have kids and family, you know how travel goes. So it was a challenge. We had 7 people we need to get onto the airplane. But man, once you get there, there's almost a sense of relief, because if you forgot it, there's nothing you can do now. Preparation was pretty exhausting, so we all immediately crashed because we were going to have to get up first thing in the morning. And once the windows raised, we were able to see the first glimpses of Ireland. I didn't get many pictures of the first day there because honestly, we were pretty wiped out. We dropped our bags off at the hotel in Dublin, and then we headed out to the Leprechaun Museum, and I'll put links to this stuff below, where we got to learn a little bit about the folklore and the history of Ireland, and then we kind of continued that on to the Epic Museum, where we learned more about the Irish and how they spread across the globe. On day 2, we got to head out to see the Guinness brewery tour, and this one's a little bit different because it's kind of a self-guided tour where you walk through and you learn about the history of Guinness, how they make it. I also had the chance to just do some photography nerdery, which I used to do a lot more of and I kind of miss, but I got some really cool barrel shots here in some of the factory. And at the end of the tour, we got a frothy glass of Guinness up in the Velocity bar, and I tried to talk to y'all, but unfortunately it was so loud there the audio was completely blown out. Next, we got to head out to see some of the ancient sites of Ireland. We got to see the Hill of Tara, we got to see Knowth and Newgrange. The Hill of Tara was once the seat of Ireland's high kings over the years, and it's where they would go to be crowned. The whole area is covered in ancient earthworks and burial mounds. If you're a Tolkien fan, it might feel like the remnants of what the Shire might have once been. Next, we went to Knowth, and this is on the scale of Newgrange in terms of size, but the biggest mound here that you have is called the Great Mound, and it is surrounded by 124 of these intricately carved stones called curbstones. And just to put timing into perspective, these were all built over 5,000 years ago. You've got stunning views of the entire countryside from atop the Great Mound. You can see the 18 smaller satellite mounds that surround the area. And after this, we got to head over to Newgrange, which I have always been fascinated about. Similar to Knowth, this also has curbstones around the bottom edges of this. Also, all those white and black rocks that you see, those are quartz. Those were brought from pretty far distance away. And originally, when they found these were on the ground. So back in the 70s, scientists conducted experiments to be able to figure out how the rocks fell off to recreate and put them back up onto the side of the mound. But for me, the real magic of this site is the central chamber. This was designed so that on winter solstice, light would come through that top hole that you see above where people are kind of walking in. Light shines through there, hits the central chamber and illuminates it. In that central chamber, there's 3 kind of alcoves with what looks to be like stone bowls there, and we're not exactly sure what the purpose of it was, but you can't help but feel a certain sense of reverence there. I mean, this was designed thousands and thousands of years ago without any modern science, and it's just magical to me. Speaking of magical, we also got to see the library of Trinity College, Dublin. Unfortunately, we got to see with a bunch of the books off the shelves here. They're going through kind of a large restoration project. And if this gives you kind of Hogwarts vibes, there's a reason for that, because it was actually one of the inspirations. So changing paces from the magical to the haunting, we got to go visit Kilmainham Jail. Built in the tail end of the 18th century, it was known for being one of the first jails to allow in light and have the belief that prisoners could actually be reformed. Later, it would become highly associated with the Easter Rising, as many of the leaders, including Patrick Pearse, Thomas Clark, and James Connolly, were imprisoned and later executed by firing squad in the Stonebreakers Yard, which I'll show here. I'll let some of the other shots I got of the jail play in the background, but I want to talk about the 1916 Rebellion walking tour that we went on. This was led by Lorcan Collins, and he's an author, a historian, but most important to me, he's an amazing and incredible storyteller. So if you find yourself in Dublin and you're a lover of history, please go check out Lorcan. He's linked below in my description for this video. With that, we left Dublin behind, so we took about a 3-hour train ride from Dublin all the way down to Cork. And it was around this time that I realized just how small Ireland was. So using the perspective of growing up in Georgia over in the United States, Georgia is almost 2 times the size of Ireland. Now, the next stop on the trip was one of the ones I was most excited about, and that is the Midleton Distillery, which is just to the east of Cork. And if you've never heard of Midleton, that's okay, neither had I. I'm actually a huge fan of Redbreast, and I didn't know that it was made in Midleton. So that's how we ended up on this distillery tour, which was one of the best I've ever been on. We learned a lot about the history of Irish whiskey, which I knew nothing about, quite honestly. And in this case, it ties right back to the good old US of A. So in 1966, we had Jameson Powers and Cork Distilleries, which was Midleton, were essentially the last of the Irish whiskeys as a result of decline from prohibition, from trade wars, and then competition versus Scotch. So they all kind of combined their resources together to cut cost and modernize, and this was basically what saved Irish whiskey. So on the tour, we got to see how the factory evolved over time, starting with this water wheel, which used to power everything, and then they moved on to steam. We got to see where their cooper does the barrel repairs, which sounds boring, but was actually very fascinating to understand the whole process it takes to make that barrel, because there's no adhesive, it's all just friction and pressure. We got to see a lot of the pot stills, which in combination with the triple distillation process is what kind of makes Irish whiskey. And then finally, we got to see kind of their micro distillery, where they are making Method and Madness, where they're just experimenting with new flavors and profiles. One of my goals in this trip was to kind of re-engage with my creative side and get some more photography in. And so I was looking at this gorgeous harbor coming in that runs through the center of Cork, and I got this shot. This is a time-lapse shot taken over about 20 seconds to allow all the light in, and that's how you get kind of the movement of the clouds in the water. So moving on from Cork, we did stop at Blarney Castle, and I don't know any of the history about this one, to be perfectly honest. I just kind of enjoyed walking around, taking it in, taking some pictures as I went. If you've ever been to Edinburgh Castle in Scotland, it was very reminiscent of that, in that the entire castle structure is built into the rock formation there. I will say that we did not kiss the Blarney Stone. Apparently there's like a crazy 2 or 3 hour line to get up to the top, so we skipped that one and just enjoyed walking the grounds. It was absolutely stunning. There was gardens surrounding things, there was footpaths and forests to go through, so we just kind of stuck to that and really enjoyed it. After Blarney Castle, we jumped into a coach and watched sheep for basically 3 hours as we drove across Ireland over to Cong. This was the part of the trip where you got to slow down a little bit. We had a Airbnb that overlooked the loch up there that you can kind of see. And the house that we were staying at was situated up on the hillside so that you had on the left side this gorgeous view of all the separate pastures around, separated by those old stone walls. And then that led way into the loch that you can see with the various little islands dotted about it. The owner's house was down at the bottom of the hill there that you can kind of see, and then just more and more water out in the distance. And we got all kinds of just stunning cloud formations as we were here. Honestly, once we got here, we had a hard time dragging my daughter anywhere because she just wanted to hang out with the cows, who she lovingly named, I think it was Meeple and Merple. And then there were some horses out in the pasture as well. But overall, this is kind of the view when we were looking out. There's the side of the house that we were staying at had this full glassed-in window that you could see everything in the distance. But this became our staging point for the next few days. We ended up doing a hawk walk, which this is us walking through kind of the gardens at Ashford Castle. It was really nice because they had all kinds of different functions. We actually did horseback riding, which we'll get to. I don't have a lot of shots of that. But while you're waiting for your event, you have all these gorgeous castle grounds that you can kind of walk through and enjoy. I just really enjoyed how the light was filtering through the trellis here, but let's jump into the falconry. This was one that really exceeded my expectations because I honestly thought we'd just be out in a field with birds, but you walk through the woods and the hawks fly up and perch, and then you put your hand out and they come and land on your hand because they're looking for a niblet of food. But overall, this was one of the most incredible experiences that we had on the trip. Watching these beautiful creatures fly through the woods was absolutely amazing, and it's crazy how light they are. They weigh just over a pound, so it barely even feels like you have anything on your hand. Also, while we were at Ashford Castle, we got to do a 2-hour trail ride through the woods around the castle, and I'm gonna be honest, I just kind of put my camera away for this one and just enjoyed it. From our staging point in Cong, we also got to head to the south here and check out the Cliffs of Moher. As I referenced back at the beginning of the video, this is also known as the Cliffs of Insanity if you've seen Princess Bride, and there's kind of 2 ways to check out the Cliffs of Moher. Either you can do the walking path that goes up along the top of the cliffs, but we ended up opting for a boat ride, which kind of goes out and circles back around, and it really lets you take in the full majesty of it. I'm going to share some of the still shots that I took as we were going along in the boat. One of the challenges I had was the lighting shifting between bright and dark, and I'm just not used to that from a video perspective. But more on the Cliffs of Moher as it relates to, say, the Cliffs of Normandy. I was curious and I did look it up, and these are twice the height of the Cliffs of Normandy, but overall absolutely stunning, and I highly recommend if you make it out to Ireland to check these out. So this brings us to the last leg of our journey where we took a coach up to Belmullet, but along the way we stopped at the musical bridge, and for this I'll just let you listen. So who knows how people figured this out, but if you run a stone along the edge of it, it does have a distinct set of notes that kind of goes with it, but mostly for me it was a fun moment of joy for my kiddo. So basically the last 2-3 days we spent in Belmullet with family, and if you're not familiar, it's in County Mayo to the far northwestern corner of Ireland. While we were there, we visited the Solis Centre, which is kind of a history and heritage of the Belmullet area, but this was a consistent theme that we noticed throughout Ireland, that there was a huge focus on the history and the transformation of the country over time. It definitely stood as a vast contrast to the United States right now. While we were here, we got to visit Blacksod Lighthouse, and it has a really interesting history that a lot of people don't know about, but originally D-Day was scheduled for June 5th, but got moved to June 6th because there was barometric pressure readings that came out of this lighthouse, which were indicating really rough weather for June 5th, which would have made the landing at Normandy very, very difficult. So I'll give you just a few more shots of the coastline area here. The harbor was gorgeous, there was just a lot to see, and after this I will show you what may have been my daughter's favorite part of the whole trip, which was hanging out at the farm with the family. She got to go on a tractor ride around the farm, and then she also got to meet some of the local cats that just kind of hang out and live outside. We were hoping to get to see some of the sheep get sheared, but that just didn't work out because of the rain and they were too wet. And if you're wondering why they have different colorings on them, that is to mark vaccines, medicine, as well as sheep who share communal areas across different owners. And lastly, here is one of the cows named Limerick giving my daughter a bath.
His tongue literally feels like Benji's.
I also got a great shot of Limerick saying hello to me, which I will leave you with as a final image. Hey, Okay, folks, I hope you enjoyed that little journey through Ireland there. I know it's a little bit different than the typical gaming content, but I thought it would be fun to share the adventures that I had with you. As always, a huge thanks to these incredible folks over here, and I'll get back over to the gaming content. See you soon. Cheers.